Hey, what's up, my peeps? I'm DeDe. Welcome back to our channel. I'm super excited to share my reactions with you. Today, we're reacting to 10 animals that ate their owners. Join the DeDe and Alex Reacts fam. Please make sure to comment down below what your favorite part was. Like and share the video, and subscribe for more content. Let's get this party started.
Hi, it's Katrina. From a python who hugged too tight to a chimp who lost his mind, here are 10 cases of animals who ate their owners. Number 10. Tiger. Cynthia Lee Gamble, an experienced tiger handler who lived in Danforth Township, Minnesota, unexpectedly lost her life to one of her big cats in 2006. The 52-year-old woman's remains were discovered in an enclosure on her property where a 500-pound Bengal tiger had mauled her to death. Gamble had kept tigers for over a decade with no issues, according to Pine County Sheriff Mark Mansavage. A friend went to visit her and found her body, and the local community was left heartbroken, especially for Gamble's 14-year-old son, Garrett. It appeared as if the sliding door to a tiger enclosure was left open, and the animal attacked her more or less without warning. The tragedy was completely unforeseen, especially given Gamble's many years of experience with big cats, with her animals even appearing on NBC's Today Show and in the major movie Vertical Limit. Simply put, if anyone was qualified to handle tigers, it was her. This unfortunate incident reminds us that no matter how accustomed someone is to interacting with wild animals, at the end of the day, they will still behave according to instinct. Number 9. Python. A 31-year-old Hampshire, England man named Dan Brandon learned the hard way that it is actually possible to love someone to death when in August 2018, his 8-foot-long African rock python, ironically named Tiny, attacked him. Brandon's mother found him unconscious on his bedroom floor with the snake nearby, and it was unfortunately too late to save him. She had heard a loud thud coming from her son's room earlier that day, but assumed he had dropped something. Brandon was an experienced snake handler who never had problems with Tiny before the unfortunate tragedy. The coroner concluded that he died from constriction, and that the snake probably coiled itself around his neck and squeezed him, possibly out of affection. Although Tiny didn't eat the man, there are many instances of pythons devouring their victims. In June 2018, Indonesian authorities reported that a 23-foot-long giant python killed a 54-year-old woman named Watiba and swallowed her whole. She had gone missing days earlier while tending to her vegetable garden, with just her sandals and machete turning up the following day. Local residents found a strangely bloated python and killed it to find out what was inside its stomach. Gruesome footage of villagers cutting the snake open and discovering Watiba intact went viral, sparking widespread shock and horror across the internet. Even if snakes have feelings and don't want to eat you, a hug from an 8-foot python is just not a good idea. Number 8. Wolf dogs. Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania resident Sandra L. Pyovison was extremely devoted to the 9 wolf dogs she spent 10 years of her life raising since they were cubs. That all changed in July 2006 when the 50-year-old woman's body was discovered at her home in Salem Township, inside an enclosure where she kept the canine hybrids. Sandra's wolf dogs had turned on her and mauled her to death, an autopsy determined, and the coroner ruled multiple soft tissue injuries as her official cause of death. They may have been more wolf than dog, and had most likely become a pack amongst themselves, and she was not included. It sounds crazy that someone would keep a pet with wild DNA and not expect something like this to happen, but Pyovison's 9 wolf dogs were just a handful of the thousands that are known to exist.
Make your browser fast. Make your browser safe. Make your browser...
There are also varying definitions of what a wolf dog even is. Some people argue that wolves and dogs are essentially the same animal since they are so genetically similar. Others think of them as a direct first-generation product of dogs mating with wolves. But there is an actual wolf-dog breed, which originated from dogs and wolves breeding, but goes back several generations. We do not breed wolves to dogs, explained John Davis, vice president of the United States American Wolfdog Association, who spoke with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette following Pyovison's death. We breed American wolf dogs to American wolf dogs. We raise dogs. Davis shunned any negative media coverage of Pyovison's death, pointing out that attacks are rare. Although the woman was not a member of the organization, her wolf dogs were not registered, and she did not have the necessary license from the Pennsylvania Game Commission to own the hybrids. Curiously, the agency knew Pyovison had the animals, but did not take action because she did have state dog licenses, and it's difficult to prove whether a canine is a dog or a wolf. Over the course of several decades, police visited the woman's house numerous times in response to complaints of noise and odors, but never charged her with any crimes. In the words of Westmoreland County Humane Officer Elaine Gower, she was pretty much on guard with me because she knew that I knew that this wasn't a great situation. Turned out very badly for her. Number 7. Pigs. In 2012, a 69-year-old farmer named Terry Vance Garner went outside to feed the pigs at his rural Coos County, Oregon property and never returned. His family later found his dentures and body parts in the pig's enclosure. Although the man's cause of death seems obvious, considering the circumstances, prosecutors were not quick to rule out foul play or a medical emergency, such as a heart attack, that may have caused him to collapse. They also wondered if Garner's pigs deliberately knocked him over while he fed them, especially considering that one of the animals had displayed aggression to the farmer on at least one previous occasion. For all we know, it was a horrific accident, but it's so doggone weird that we have to look at all possibilities. District Attorney Paul Frazier told the press while announcing plans to have a forensic anthropologist examine Garner's remains. Domestic pigs are typically non-aggressive, according to John Killefer, head of the Animal and Rangeland Sciences Department at Oregon State University, but there is some degree of danger associated with any animal. Moreover, Garner's pigs were much bigger than average, tipping the scales at over 700 pounds, begging the question of whether their size played a role in the tragedy. Number 6. Humphrey the hippo. After ignoring repeated warnings that his pet hippopotamus Humphrey was a dangerous wild animal who could never truly be tamed, Marius Els, a South African farmer and army major, was found dead, submerged and mutilated in a river. His pet hippo had bitten him to death. The 40-year-old man had purchased Humphrey when he was just 5 months old, after he became too big for the family who originally took him in after rescuing him from the very river his deceased owner was found in. Over the years that Humphrey spent on Els' 400-acre farm, he became like a son to the man. The pair swam together, and there are even photos of Els fearlessly riding the 1.3-ton animal. But Humphrey was far from harmless. He had an established history of breaking out of his enclosure, chasing people, and killing livestock. Even Els' wife was uncomfortable with keeping a hippo as a pet, but this did not stop the man from doing what he wanted. There's a relationship between me and Humphrey, and that's what some people don't understand, Els said months before his death. They think you can only have a relationship with dogs, cats, and domestic animals, but I have a relationship with the most dangerous animal in Africa. It is indeed true that hippos are responsible for more human deaths than lions, elephants, leopards, buffalo, and rhinos combined. As it turns out, Els learned the hard way that he was no exception to this statistic, despite believing that he had a special connection with Humphrey. Number 5. Cats. In July 2010, humane officials were given the gruesome task of removing a dozen cats from an Albion, Pennsylvania home, where a 74-year-old former teacher named Herbert Walden and his 94-year-old mother Jane were found dead. Enough time had passed, over a week, authorities believed, for the cats to become desperate for food and start eating the elderly gentleman's foot. Walden likely died from a heart attack, according to the Erie County Deputy Coroner Korak Tiemann, the Morning Call reported. Jane, who relied on him for care, probably succumbed to dehydration following her son's death because she was unable to fetch her own water. By the sounds of things, the Waldens' living situation was unhealthy to begin with. Their home lacked running water and was strewn with garbage stacked nearly to the ceiling. With no usable toilet, the pair went to the bathroom in buckets and transferred the contents into containers which lined their hallway. And in addition to the 12 live cats that the authorities rescued, they found a dead dog and 4 dead cats. Number 4. Spiders, bugs, and lizards. This story is somewhat of an internet/urban legend, claiming that residents of an apartment building in Dortmund, Germany, noticed an unbearable stench coming from a neighbor's unit and summoned police to the scene. What the authorities supposedly encountered was a nightmare. The dead body of the apartment's occupant, Mark Vogel, had been gnawed on by hundreds of spiders, several snakes, thousands of termites, and a gecko. The 30-year-old man who kept a practical zoo in his home was fatally bitten by his black widow spider, Bettina, the story says. It was like a horror movie, a police spokesperson is quoted as saying. His corpse was over the sofa. Giant webs draped him. Spiders were all over him. They were coming out of his nose and his mouth. The spokesperson's description only got more horrifying from there. Larger pieces of flesh torn off by the lizards were scooped up and taken back to the webs of tarantulas and other bird-eating spiders, he continued. This is definitely a great story for Halloween. Gabby Bayer, a spider expert and animal cruelty officer, reportedly said that the creatures, which included several poison frogs, should never be allowed in a private home. Vogel allowed reptiles to freely roam the residence, news reports claimed, and his spiders escaped their cages following his death when their heating units exploded. This is arguably the most gruesome story, maybe, but it also holds the distinction of being of questionable credibility. At some point, the story caught the attention of ABC Australia's Media Watch, which published an article showing that the story had been published numerous times over the years, including in 2004, 2007, and 2011. Despite this, the story remains as popular and believed as ever. Number 3. Teddy the Black Bear. Ross Township, Pennsylvania resident Kelly Ann Waltz loved the animals she kept in her hilltop menagerie, which included a tiger, mountain lion, and a 350-pound black bear named Teddy. Get it? Lions, tigers, and bears. But the animals didn't necessarily love her back, as the 37-year-old woman learned the hard way in October 2009, when she went to clean Teddy's cage and he mauled her to death. Kelly's husband, Mark Waltz, had kept animals for years as an exotic pet dealer at the couple's home in the Poconos Mountains region. Nothing out of the ordinary indicated that Kelly might be in danger when she entered the black bear's 15 by 15-foot steel and concrete cage to clean it. Unfortunately, a shovelful of dog food wasn't enough to distract Teddy that day, when for reasons none of us will ever fully understand, he turned on his owner. Kelly's children and her neighbor's kids witnessed the horrifying attack and scrambled for help. By the time someone shot Teddy dead, it was too late to save her. No matter how comfortable someone is with their wild pet, it's customary for owners to use two-section cages that enable them to isolate the animal and safely clean the enclosure. Tim Conway.
It's 5 a.m. Most people are counting sheep. In neighborhoods everywhere, we're counting
of the Pennsylvania Game Commission told CBS that why this woman chose to go in the same area that the bear was in is beyond me. It's a fatal mistake. Number 2. Monitor lizards. When Ronald Huff of Newark, Delaware didn't show up for work one day in 2002, police conducted a welfare check. What they found inside Huff's home was nothing short of horrifying. The man's corpse propped upright against a door, being devoured by his 7 Nile monitor lizards. The 6-foot-long creatures were covered in their owner's blood and had consumed his face, hands, and some of his internal organs. A week or two before Huff died, one of the monitor lizards bit him, causing a staph infection. In a 2018 interview with The Sun, Huff's former neighbor, Jeff Wildonger, explained that the man allowed the reptiles to roam his apartment freely. Although the cause of Huff's death was ruled inconclusive, Wildonger believes that he must have had a fever from his staph infection and sat down near the front door, one of the only cool places in his home, which he kept at a high temperature for his pets. His cheeks had been eaten off and his molars were where his ears should be, said Wildonger, who caught a glimpse of the traumatizing scene. As officers attempted to confront the scene, the venomous flesh-eating reptiles hissed at them. Some of the lizards were relocated to zoos, while the more aggressive ones were euthanized. Number 1. Travis the chimp. Sometimes you just have to wonder what people are thinking. Why do you want a chimp as a pet? They are incredibly smart and loving, but they are also strong and wild and don't really belong in a house. Unfortunately for a woman named Charla Nash, her best friend's chimp Travis turned on her and attacked her. Travis was actually an animal actor and had appeared in TV shows and commercials. He was raised by hand at what is now the Missouri Chimpanzee Sanctuary and became well known in the town. He had been socialized around humans since birth, and while he did like to play and wrestle, he always seemed to know when to stop. Sandra Harold had raised the chimp herself, considering him as her adopted son, but was having trouble one day in 2009. Travis had gone on a tirade and had escaped the house. Charla came over to help, and things got completely out of hand. She and the chimp knew each other, but she had changed her hairstyle, which may have confused Travis. Next thing, he was attacking her, biting her face and hands. Sandra started hitting him with a shovel to get him to stop, and he turned and got angrier. She called the police, who at first thought it was a hoax, but you can actually hear the screaming in the background. Sandra screams, "He's eating her!" Charla suffered horrendous injuries, but medical personnel had to wait in case they got attacked as well. Police finally arrived, and Travis attacked the vehicle, smashing the windows and opened the passenger door, where a police officer shot him several times. He died, and the story became international news. Charla had huge medical bills and tried experimental face transplant surgery, but was very afraid to show herself in public. She sued her friend for $50 million. Thanks.
That was the most scariest video ever. Why? Why would you keep those animals? They're live animals. They are endangered animals. They are dangerous animals. Why would you keep them as a pet? No, thank you. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And smash that notification bell. Thank you. Have a good night.